All right, so first one is alpha. Step one. So alpha is in quadrant 4. So I'm down here. This means that x is 8 and my hypotenuse here is 17. So I go through and find, using the Pythagorean theorem, I know that 8 squared plus y squared is equal to 17. Get my calculator out, because I don't know what 17 squared is. So 17 squared minus 8 squared is equal to 225. So y is equal to 15. Now, based upon the quadrants, I know that my x value is positive and my y value is a negative 15. So now I can go through and say, I already have the cosine of alpha, right? But also in this piece here, what else do I know? I know for this, I know that the sine of alpha is equal to negative 15 over 17. And then the tangent of alpha is negative 15 over 8. Because this is my value alpha here. Good so far? All right, that's step 1. So then step 2 is I have to go through and find beta. I'm just going to minimize this so I can see the given information. All right. So step 2. Yep. Well, we did alpha. Right? We did alpha first. So all of this, that argument that's inside here, this is all for alpha. Now step 2 is to deal with beta. Now beta, they tell us, is in quadrant 3. It is my sine. So I'm going down, this is my y. Remember, this is my y-axis, right? So I'm going down 1, but the hypotenuse is 2. And that's because they are telling me that the sine of beta is negative 1 over 2 is in quadrant 3. So the y I'm going down, my hypotenuse is 2. Okay, so once I have that, I still need my x and my y. I need to use a quadratic equation. So it is negative 1 squared plus x squared is equal to 2. So it's 1 plus x squared is equal to 2 squared. So that becomes 4. So x squared is equal to 3. So x is equal to the square root of 3. Now x has to be negative here. It's in quadrant 3. So because it's in quadrant 3, I know it's negative. Then I need to go through and identify what is the sine, oh, I have sine of beta, excuse me. Now I need to go ahead and say that the cosine of beta is equal to my, negative square root of 3 over 2, and that the tangent of beta is equal to, and again, this is just because sine, cosine, and the cosine is, the cosine is this angle, so the cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. The tangent of beta is the opposite over the opposite over the adjacent. So the tangent of beta, right now, feel free to go ahead and just leave it as -1 over the negative square root of 3, or just positive 1 over the square root of 3. And then you go ahead and take those values of sine and cosine that you have and apply the formulas for 5.2. So the things that are important on this are, let me go ahead, highlight the pieces that we have. We need to know this, all of these values, so once I have found those, I found the sine and cosine and tangent of alpha and beta. So once I have that, if I want to go ahead now and say what is the cosine, because we haven't done one of these yet, what is the cosine of alpha plus beta? That formula for the cosine of alpha plus beta, and this is just what they're called the double angle formulas, or the sum and difference formulas. So the cosine is a little bit different. The cosine says it's the cosine of alpha times the cosine of beta, and then I subtract out the sine of alpha and the sine of beta. So then I just take those pieces that I highlighted and plug them into the formula. All right, let's make sure. So the cosine of alpha is 8 over 17. Then I come over here to the cosine of beta, which is negative square root of 3 over 2. And I put both of those in. So the cosine of alpha is 8 over 17 times the cosine of beta, which is negative square root of 3 over 2. And then I subtract it from the sine. So now I'm going to do the sine of alpha times the sine of beta. Well, the sine of alpha is -1/2. And then the sine of beta, did I not write it down? I must have it somewhere. Sine of beta, there it is. And sine of alpha, I need these two, the sine of alpha and then the sine of beta. So that just becomes -15 over 17 times -1/2. And someone can go ahead and do that all out and tell me what all of that equals.